Ate?
Hello everybody, my name is Karryshh and welcome back to another recap video. After a long while, I brought you a latest demonic Filipino horror movie, Mallari. The story of this movie is twisted. There are 3 timelines and so many characters. But with all that, the movie does a great job in portraying a really good horror story. So we're gonna talk about it. But first, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video to help me out, cause I bring you horror from around the world. And with that said, let's dive into the video. So the story begins in 1812, where we see a woman with her child. The woman is revealed as a thief, and the child knew about this, but then suddenly, the priest of their village popped there. His name was Juan, and he murdered the woman the next second with a machete. Juan removed the woman's entrails, and the child goes and hides. And Juan sees the child, but he didn't hurt her. The scene goes almost 200 years in the future in 2023, where we meet with Jonathan, who has come to this hospital where all the sick kids were waiting for Agnes, Jonathan's girlfriend, who was a doctor there. Then when Agnes came, Jonathan proposed to her and obviously she accepted. However, something happened and the scene got denser. And then we're suddenly in a hospital where Agnes is now at her deathbed. A nurse comes and tells Jonathan that Agnes will not survive. But after the nurse leaves, Jonathan promises to Agnes that he will do anything to make her live. After this, Jonathan pulls out a severe head from his bag and brings it closer to Agnes's face, which fears her. But Jonathan wants to keep Agnes alive. The scene shifts again and we see Jonathan with a man named Lucas. Their relation was a bit complex. Actually, you see, Jonathan belongs to Mallari family and Lucas belongs to Alacron family. The Alacrons have a history of serving Mallaris and Mallaris have a history to help Alacron in their time of need. Their relation applies on Jonathan and Lucas as well, and the two were in a car when Jonathan talks about his dream. For a few days since his engagement, Jonathan was having a dream where he sees Agnes in the hospital about to die. And Jonathan knew that the dream would become reality, and to prevent it, Jonathan and Lucas have come to a place known as Magalang, where Jonathan's family used to live in their house, Mallari's house. On their way, Jonathan sees a spirit of a boy which he ignored. They reach the Mallari's house, which was taken care by servants, including a girl named Amal, who is related to Lucas. Before Jonathan arrived, Amal sees a woman referred as Aunt Miss stealing something from Mallari's house, but she just let her go. We also find out that Lucas had no clue about the thing Jonathan wants to find in that house. Well, Lucas and Jonathan now meets with Amal, who show them around the Mallari property. Jonathan starts investigating ASAP, and while on it, he listens to a cry from the woods. He ignores it and goes back inside the house, and with the chit-chats, we find out that Lucas is ought to become a priest in the parish church nearby. Anyway, Amal showed Jonathan some old photos of her family. That includes a photo of a woman named Donna, Jonathan's great-great-great-grandmother, and her son Juan, who was a parish priest in the church. Other than those two, there was a photo of a man named Jean-Marie, who used to film documentaries around the time of the war. Amal informed stuff about past, which includes that Juan was a murderer and was hanged after he got caught. Now when Jonathan was looking here and there, he sees a spirit of a woman in a mirror with hollow eyes, but at the same time, it feels like he's not really seeing it. Then Lucas finds Jean-Marie's projector, and meanwhile, Amal accidentally gossips about strange town rumors that includes Mallari family and how whenever a Mallari comes in the town, strange murders happen. Lucas scolds Amal over the gossip and takes her with him, and then Jonathan begins a search. He looked in the walls and behind the doors for a secret room that he thinks is inside this house, cause he saw it once when he was little, but he couldn't find that room anywhere. During this, Jean-Marie's projector gets turned on its own, which makes Jonathan believe that there might be something worth watching in Jean-Marie's films. The scene goes on a non-binary person named Didi. They were confessing about their gender identity to the priest of the parish church, but the priest doesn't approve of their identity. However, Dee Dee records all that, and their mission was to actually expose the church beliefs to the public. Before Dee Dee could leave, Lucas arrived and broke Dee Dee's bone. And actually, Dee Dee was also a sex worker. Now, Lucas talks with parish priest about how Mallaris are back in town. Lucas asks about priest Juan Mallari, and parish priest takes him in a back room where he had locked a statue of Juan. He couldn't display the statue because Juan was a serial killer who murdered 57 people of this village in 1812. Lucas wanted to know why priest Juan did all that, and from here, the scene goes on Dee Dee, who was on a video call with one of her clients in the woods when someone came behind them. That someone was a hooded figure who attacked Dee Dee with a machete. Dee Dee screamed and tried to run away, but they couldn't, because in the end, the hooded man found him, grabbed him, and impaled him with a machete. The man looked possessed, and now the scene goes back in 1812. We see a woman named Donna, who comes to live in Magalang with her son Juan, who's the parish priest. Donna and Juan belongs to Mallari family, and Juan introduces Donna to the servant family, the Alacrons, which includes a woman named Maria and another woman named Neves. Donna treats the servants poorly, but afterwards, Juan shows her the parish church, where Donna dances in front of their Lord, and she was happy to see the success of her son. That night, Donna talks to Juan about the weird villagers. Donna has seen people selling black candles, and she suspects that there's witchcraft in this village, but Juan tells her to worry not. He then goes to sleep in the parish church, but as soon as he leaves, Neves comes and she hissed at Donna. She beckoned her while hissing into a room, and Donna didn't like that behavior one bit. She follows Neves into that room where she sees something that makes her run in fear, but Maria and Neves grabs and drags her back inside the room. Scene comes back in 2023 where Jonathan is watching cute videos of him with Agnes. At night, he was looking for something to eat when some paranormal activity occurs around him. Suddenly, all the knives floated in the air, and when Jonathan tried to escape, the knives fell around him and the door got blocked. An evil spirit comes near him, but everything disappeared as soon as Lucas arrived with John Ree's projector. The two fixed the projector, and then they watched John Ree's documentary, which takes us back in 1948. In 1948, we find out that John Ree came to live in Mallari's house to document post-war stuff, which was on a topic called Manila Project. However, his documentary soon took a turn, and John Ree began telling about his personal stuff. He declared about a big secret that's hidden in Mallari's family and how he will uncover everything for Jonathan in the next two videos. Now, as soon as Jonathan heard his name in the documentary, he and Lucas were in shock. Next day, two cops came to investigate, and they asked questions to parish priest and Lucas cause Dee Dee is now dead. The cops were suspecting Jonathan for this cause he's the new guy in the village. Afterwards, Lucas talks to Jonathan and tells him to go back to the city because people are suspecting him for the things he hadn't done. But Jonathan reveals that he must find a secret room in this house. That room must have a cure for Agnes, but he has no clue where that secret room is. Jonathan tells Lucas that he found that room when he was little, and the scene goes back when Jonathan was little. Little Jonathan was roaming around at night when he hears a voice from a room. He goes inside, and there he finds Donna from 1812 doing something evil. Jonathan picks up an amulet from Donna's desk, but before he could talk to her, John Ree comes and snatches him away. John Ree then finds out that Jonathan is from future, and then he explains to little Jonathan that Donna is doing something to keep herself alive. John Ree then escorted Jonathan out of there, but they couldn't believe their eyes when they found the entire house filled with spirits. Little Jonathan got scared, but then a blooded Juan arrived. Jonathan and John Ree hides, and in prison, when Lucas hears this story, he obviously didn't believe him. Lucas tried to make Jonathan understand the fact that if he saw Donna and John Ree, then they must have been hundreds of years old, but they weren't. However, To prove himself, Jonathan pulls out the amulet he stole from Donna's desk, and the scene goes back in 1948. In 1948, John Rhee was working on his post-war documentaries, and he had filmed some really gruesome scenes of dead bodies. However, the person interested in documentaries wanted him to show the bodies after war, because the people are claiming that the bodies in the woods was a work of a demon named Aswang. Aswang is a Filipino shape-shifting creature, and because of its alleged existence in Magalang, people were less interested in John Rhee's documentary because there is no proof. After this, John Rhee tried to find his servant Conchin, but instead of her, he found an old woman who was no one but Maria from 1812. Maria told John Rhee that Alacrons have vowed to serve Mallaris forever. But when John Rhee found out that the woman is Maria, he was in shock. Maria then informed him about some people who are in the cellar waiting for him. John Rhee went into the cellar, and there he found many people, and they all were laughing at John Rhee's documentary. John Rhee went deep into the crowd to take back his camera, but he couldn't believe his eyes when he discovered that the people he filmed were the ones in the room with him. Suddenly, all the people turned into spirits, and John Rhee found himself surrounded by them. He ran to save his life, and then he told everything to Conchin. But according to her, there's no one else in this house except him and her. Now, another person arrived at the house, and this was Felicity, John Rhee's wife, who lives in America. Felicity wanted to go back to America with John Rhee because she's now pregnant, but John Rhee wanted to finish his documentary first. There, John Rhee revealed his new motive to film those documentaries. Actually, you see, John Rhee knew about Huan from 1812 and how he murdered a lot of people. However, John Rhee tracked something down. He had found that people are still dying in a mysterious way. Every full moon night, a murder happens in this village, and it's happening since 1812. It means someone is still doing the work of Juan Mallari, but who and why? John Rhee wants to figure that out, but Felicity is against all this. At night, John Rhee hears some noise, which was the voice of Donna coming from inside the secret room. He went to check it out, and there he met with little Jonathan. It was the scene we saw earlier. And now when John Rhee hides from blooded Huan went to meet with his mother. John Rhee knew what was happening, and he told little Jonathan that some Mallaris are travelers. They can travel in past and future in their dreams. And that's how John Rhee from 1948 and little Jonathan from 2023 have found their way into 1812. Suddenly, Juan came back and the two hides again. This time, Juan finds them, but both of them wake up in their real timelines. John Rhee was then in shock, but his spine shivered when he discovered that he brought little Jonathan's blanket with him into his timeline. It means Mallaris can not only travel, but they can also bring stuff in past and future. This was a huge opportunity, and that was why John Rhee went and tied his camera around his arm and went back to sleep. The scene comes back in 2023 where Jonathan was in a cemetery where he follows some voice. He finds a priest, but the priest turned evil, scaring Juan. Suddenly, the grave of John Rhee speaks and tells Jonathan to leave this place as soon as possible. This scared Jonathan and he ran. He ran into Lucas and the parish priest, where Lucas is now worried for him because he was acting like a nut job. On the other hand, we see some teenagers who entered the Mallari's house to have some fun. They all were investigating, but one of the girls found a secret room and she entered it. Meanwhile, a friend of Amal's witnessed a spirit and obviously he screamed and ran. However, when Amal came back to check, there was no one around. Meanwhile, the girl who entered the secret room was walking here and there when she found an old woman who suddenly attacked on the girl. The girl screamed and the friends immediately come to help her. But then the girl wasn't speaking or turning around. But when she did, she screamed under possession. Everyone ran away in fear and soon the parents came to fetch their kids. The girl who was possessed was then normal, but she gave Jonathan a video reel, telling him that the ghost wanted him to have this. That night we see Aunt Miss, who stole something in the beginning, and now she is being stalked by the hooded man. He came from behind her and brutally murdered her with his machete. Next day, Lucas came and confronted Jonathan about a big lie. He said if Agnes is in the hospital, then who is this woman? And then Agnes arrived there, who was well and healthy. We find out that since Jonathan and Agnes got engaged, Jonathan was seen that hospital dream, in which Agnes died in the end. But all that didn't happen in real life yet. Jonathan lied to Lucas about it because he didn't want to answer confusing questions. But now Agnes was angry because Jonathan was constantly ignoring her. Jonathan tried to make Agnes understand the fact that she will get sick in the future, and that's why he's here in Mallari's house to find a cure. This obviously upsets Agnes even more and she starts to leave. Jonathan tries stopping her, and when Lucas interfered in their fight, Jonathan shouted at him too, making him realize that he's just a servant and nothing more. In the end, Agnes and Lucas were both mad at Jonathan, so they left him alone. After a while, Agnes calmed down and she was a good lover, so she talked to Jonathan and told him that she believes him, and she promised him to stay by his side in every step of his journey. To prove everything to Agnes, Jonathan takes her inside and showed her the documentary made by John Rhee. Further in the second video, the documentary takes us in 1812. It means John Rhee successfully took his camera back in time. John Rhee showed us the scene of Magalang and how Donna was a healthy woman and Juan was really a good parish priest. But then one night, Donna fell ill, and after a few days, murders started occurring in the village. As soon as the murders began, Donna was back to her feet, happy and healthy. Showing all that to Agnes, Jonathan tells her that he knows that in future, Agnes will get sick, but whatever will happen to her can be cured if Jonathan finds the cure that healed Donna in 1812. Hearing this, Agnes starts to leave, but she promises Jonathan that she'll come back, but for now, she needs to go and find a way to help Jonathan. Jonathan agrees and let her go, and the scene goes back in 1812. We see Juan, who was giving a speech to the mass when John Rhee from 1948 arrived with his hidden camera and he filmed everything. After mass, a guy named Mayor Ruiz came and spoke bad about Juan because there is a rumor in the village about Donna being a house for a demon, and that's why she's suddenly sick. Juan denies all these suspicions and then he goes to meet with his sick mother. Juan had no clue what was wrong with Donna, but Donna assured him that she's okay. After a while, Donna puked blood, and then came Maria and Nieves. Maria told Juan that your mother is cursed and only you can save her. The only way to save Donna is to feed her human entrails. Maria told Juan to become a murderer and kill those who deserve punishment. Hearing that, Juan was in shock and he went to church and started crying because he didn't want to kill someone, but then an alter ego appeared in front of him who was evil. It was the part of him that wanted to kill people in order to save Donna, and it tells Juan that if he kills the bad people, he will only make the world a better place. The alter ego tried to make him understand that he will not become a killer, but a saint instead, who purifies the world from evil. This changed Juan's perspective, and he was then ready to murder people. At first, he chose Mayo Ruiz, who was not a good man. The scene goes on Mayo Ruiz, who was about to have sex with two women when he went to use the washroom first, but evil Juan had an eye on him. When Mayo Ruiz came back, he couldn't believe his eyes because both the women were dead, and then suddenly Juan appeared in front of him and attacked him with a machete. Mayo Ruiz begged for forgiveness, but Juan ended up killing him. He then removed his entrails and took him home for Donna. Juan came back home, and this was the scene when Jonathan and John Rhee was hiding from him. When Juan couldn't find the boys, he went to meet with Donna, where Maria and Nieves told him a story. Juan found out that Donna was terminally ill when she came to live here, and she was going to die anyway, and that was why the Alacrons took opportunity and saved Donna. They took Donna in the secret room where Maria was performing a demonic ritual. Donna tried to run away, but she couldn't, and in the end, the Alacron family sent a Aswang demon inside Donna who will keep her alive. Hearing the story, Juan shouted at Maria, but Maria made him understand the fact that because of the demon, Donna will now live forever, and then suddenly, A happy and healthy Maria appeared in front of Juan, and she didn't even remember that she is harboring an evil inside. Donna then danced with Juan, and he was happy to see her mother like this. Donna asked Juan to do what the Alacrons said, and he did that. Nieves and Maria bore evil smiles because their demonic plan of harboring Aswang finally worked. Scene comes back in 2023 where Jonathan is trying to find the third video of Johnry, and he successfully finds it in a bed. However, suddenly an evil spirit comes and startles him. Jonathan hides under the dining table where he experienced paranormal activity, and then the spirit comes closer and tells him that he is next before it disappears. Jonathan runs downstairs where the cops were waiting for him. Jonathan finds out about the murder of Aunt Miss, but the cops were not suspicious of Jonathan anymore because they were keeping an eye on him. After the cops left, Jonathan apologizes from Lucas, but there Jonathan reveals something else about his dream. Actually, see, in his dream, Agnes actually tells him who is the person who's responsible for Agnes's bad condition, and that person was Lucas. Jonathan tells Lucas that he has no clue why and how Lucas will hurt Agnes, but he won't let that happen. Here, Lucas doesn't say much, at least because he was already mad at him, and then Jonathan goes and watches the third video. This time, in documentary, John re-explained to Jonathan that Mallari family can do astral projection, and that's how they travel in time. Jonathan realized that's how he went to 1812 when he was little, but then John re-explains that they can also travel with particular things and take them too in past and future. Jonathan now thinks of going back in 1812, and meanwhile, at the end of the documentary, John Ree's wife disappeared. John Ree forbids Jonathan to go back in past, and then he went to look for Felicity. Now Jonathan did what John Ree told him not to do. He has his special amulet and sleeps and wakes up in 1812 at the village. A woman wakes him up, and Jonathan finds out that the villagers are leaving because the murders are happening quite frequent. Jonathan ran towards Mallari's house to meet with Donna and Juan, and meanwhile, in 2023, Agnes comes to meet with parish priest. She asked the priest about Magalang and if there's history of witchcraft in this town, but the priest told Agnes to talk with Lucas because he belongs to Alacron family, and this was the shocking news. Lucas is actually the descendant of Maria. Back in 1812, Jonathan arrived at Mallari's house, and he went and peeked inside the secret room where Juan was prepping a woman's entrails for Donna. He was giving them to Maria, and they were talking about how and when Donna will eat the meat. Juan and Maria then take the entrails to Donna's room where she was locked in chains. As soon as Donna sees the meat, the demon inside her completely takes over. Wings emerged from Donna's back and she started flying and growling. Donna took the meat and ate it raw, and then she came back to her normal self. Donna then slept, and she didn't even remember what happened, but Jonathan witnessed all that because he was hiding under her bed. Back in 2023, Agnes comes to talk to Lucas, but instead, she finds him in a possessed state, praying to a statue of Juan. Lucas beats himself with a whip, and Agnes believes that Lucas is definitely the person who's murdering the villagers. Suddenly, Lucas sees Agnes, and he even catches her and drags her in his room. Agnes tells Lucas that it means Jonathan's dreams were right, and Lucas is gonna hurt her. However, Lucas tells Agnes that they have bigger plan for Agnes, and it means there are even more people involved in this evil charade. It was then that a boy come and see everything. Lucas is about to kill the boy when Agnes knocked him out with a vase, and she runs with the boy. She successfully escapes this time, and the scene goes back in 1812. Now Jonathan came out of the bed after everyone left, and he placed a knife at Donna. He took Donna downstairs as a hostage in front of Nieves, Maria and Juan, and the three got a shock because nobody knew who Jonathan was. However, Jonathan already had told everything to Donna on their way, and Donna wasn't very happy after knowing that she's harboring a demon. Donna told Juan that in 200 years, Juan will be remembered as a serial killer and not a saint. Juan gives Donna an explanation for why he did it, but Donna made it clear that she will not harbor a demon inside of her. But then suddenly, Nevis attacked on Jonathan because Alacron family wanted to protect the demon. In that hassle, Jonathan stabbed Nevis and she died. But when Jonathan and Juan started fighting, Maria caught Donna, and Juan wanted to murder Jonathan because he became the reason Donna found everything out and she will not eat human entrails anymore. During the fight, Jonathan asked Juan about the murders of 2023, but Juan made it clear that he's not traveling in time to kill people. Juan had no clue about the future murders. Back in 2023, Agnes comes to meet with Jonathan, who's actually astral projecting at the moment while sleeping, but then Lucas comes and attacked on Agnes from behind. Agnes had a gun, so she pulled it out at the right time, but Lucas ended up overpowering Agnes. In 1812, Juan stabbed Jonathan in his shoulder when suddenly the little girl of the woman who died in the beginning of the movie came there with the cops and told them that Juan is the murderer. Juan finally got arrested and Jonathan wakes up in 2023 again. Jonathan runs to save Agnes, but he was too late because Lucas ended up stabbing Agnes with his machete and she falls to the ground. Jonathan then attacked Lucas in fury and the two fights, during which Lucas finally uncovers some more secrets. Actually, you see, Alacron family had a duty to serve Aswang, and they do it by serving Mallari family, because in return, a member of Mallari family allows Aswang to live inside of him. However, now Alacron family had lost track of the demon and they have no clue where the demon is. Lucas wanted to find the demon and give that demon a new body, which would be Agnes. However, even after all this time, Lucas had no clue where the demon is, and when Lucas asked Jonathan about the demon, he had no clue either. Lucas asked for help from Jonathan so together they can find the demon, but Jonathan denies, and Lucas sees that as a betrayal of Mallari family. He ends up wanting to kill Jonathan, but before he could stab him, Jonathan picked up the gun and shot Lucas twice, eventually killing him. Back in 1812, when Juan is taken out by the cops, he sees Maria, who was dragging Donna into that secret room. In 2023, Jonathan now cradles his dying wife when a last video plays on the projector. This video featured Felicity, who was at the cemetery, and she talked about the curse in Mallari family and how it could destroy the future generation of Mallaris. Back in 1948, John Rhee was looking for Conchin in his house when he hears Felicity crying inside a wall. He finds the secret room behind the wall and he couldn't believe what was inside. Inside was Felicity, held hostage by Conchin and a really old Maria. But not just them. But there was also a really old Donna who was alive even after 200 years because of that demon inside of her. Conchin and Maria told John Rhee that now the demon wants another body and they want to use Felicity. John Rhee must oblige or Felicity will die, and he must become a serial killer like Juan to feed the monster, or else her wife will die either way. Then old Donna came near John Rhee and she was thinking of him as her son, and she begged to him to let her die because she's just too old to live anymore. John Rhee couldn't think of a way out of this, but he couldn't let the demon take over his pregnant wife, and that was why John Rhee took the demon inside of him from Donna's body, and Donna disappeared into ashes. John Rhee became the beacon to harbor the evil, and first he saved his wife and then he grabbed Conchin's neck. He shapeshifted into a werewolf and murdered both Conchin and Maria, ate their entrails and turned back into human. This is where we find out that Aswang can take different shapes in different bodies. Anyway, now demon was calmed and John Rhee told his wife that there's only one way to end this curse. Felicity needs to bury John Rhee alive because the demon is immortal, but they can trap him inside Jonathan's body. Back in 2023, Felicity was telling the video that she buried John Rhee alive to end this curse, and it means the demon is inside John Rhee's grave, and that demon can save Agnes's life. Then Amal came and helped Agnes, and Jonathan left to fetch the demon to help Agnes. However, on his way, he finds himself surrounded by dozens of spirits. These were spirits of the people murdered to keep the demon alive. And now the spirits begged Jonathan to not free the curse because it will only bring chaos. Jonathan didn't listen to him and he ends up digging up the grave of John Rhee where he was still alive. Johnry even talks and tells Jonathan to not release the curse because he was buried alive all this time so that all the Mallaris in the future can have a good life. But Jonathan didn't listen. Then comes Juan's soul and he told Jonathan the same thing, like how Agnes will become just like Donna and she will pray for her death every day. But Jonathan still didn't listen. He was not ready to leave Agnes to die, and in the end, he decapitated Johnry. Scene goes in the hospital where Agnes is finally on her deathbed, and this is where the story actually started. Jonathan pulls out Johnry's head from inside his bag and brings him near Agnes. She was hella scared but she couldn't run as the demon crawled out from Johnry and went inside Agnes. Scene goes a few days later where Jonathan and Agnes came to live in Mallari's house permanently. However, Agnes now denies to marry Jonathan and she tells him that they can even have kids cause of this demon inside of her. Agnes tells Jonathan that she loves him, but he should have let her die. However, Agnes has accepted her fate, and in the end, she tells Jonathan that tonight is full moon, and the demon will be hungry. She then leaves him alone, and he looks at the camera with an evil face, meaning Jonathan will become the next serial killer of this town, and this is where the movie ends. However, let me tell you one thing. The priest Juan in 1812 actually was a real serial killer who murdered 57 people in real life, and that's how this movie is inspired by real events. So this was the recap video on the movie Mallari, and I hope you have liked it. If you have, then please subscribe the channel and like this video. I really need your support to grow further. If you wanna watch this movie, there's a link to my Telegram channel where I share movie links every now and then, so go subscribe there. I'm mostly active on Insta, so you can follow me there as well. And look into my other channel where we discuss about the mysteries of the world. All the links are in the description box. For now, I'll see you all in the next one. Till then, stay awake, cause they always see you.